know the game in trouble. Started out small, now they paying me double. Yeah, you can drip chip, baby, like mustard.
Hey y'all, it's Jordan or JorWish and welcome back to my channel. Finally made it to part 3 of my Back to Law School series. This is part 3, so if you haven't already, make sure you go watch part 1 and 2. And if you have, comment that down below. Okay, so now we're gonna get into one of my most asked questions, most requested videos, which is how did I study 1L year? Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I did pretty well my 1L year, you know, secured some A's. Not straight A's, but enough. Okay, we're just gonna get into how I studied 1L year. Now that I'm a 3L, I feel more confident sharing this advice, and because I did pretty well 1L year, I was like, okay, maybe I know what's going on. So I'm just gonna share how I studied. Okay, so first we're gonna talk about reading schedule. So personally, I decided to read cases for the week, which meant that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was reading whatever reading we had to do for the entire next week. So I started Monday off with everything read for all of my classes for the entire week. So sometimes your professors will assign you reading. They'll say, okay, class, next class, or the syllabus will say, if you have a class that's Tuesday and Thursday, okay, Tuesday read pages 1 through 40, and then Thursday read pages 40 through 80. Instead of doing it like day by day like that, as reading was assigned after every class, I just read whatever they said for the week, if possible. Some professors weren't that organized and didn't really say that, so I kind of just went based off of chapters. But yeah, I would read for the week for every single class on the weekends. So yeah, it was pretty hard. I would say that I started Saturday mornings. I would start pretty early in the morning, and that's when I started reading for my hardest class. That was Civ Pro. I did Saturday mornings, Civ Pro Saturdays, like that was my jam. And then classes that were like classes I didn't really care too much to read about, or I knew the reading wasn't that important, like if it was a class where I knew I wasn't gonna get cold called and there was gonna be a panel and I wasn't on panel that week, or a class where, you know, the professor basically taught the book so it wasn't that crucial for me to read, then I would save that class for Sunday or Sunday evening even. So pros and cons to reading ahead are, 1, you are ahead. You have time during the week and you're ahead. You know, you're not gonna be stressed out in between classes being like, oh my gosh, I didn't read, I hope I don't get cold called. Like, no, you already been there, done that, you have all your shit done. So that's good. And then you have time during the week, which means Tuesday nights you can maybe go to Taco Tuesday or have a happy hour, or you just have more time to do mastery and study or work on your writing assignments. You just kind of want to knock that reading out, because reading is just like the bare minimum for law school. You know, you have to do so much other things. This is kind of what I did 1L year, you know, 2L year and even 3L year. Like, I'm not even that pressed to read anymore for real. I'm just trying to like get out of law school at this point. But 1L year, your grades are really important, especially 1L fall. So I was on my grind, like, period. So that's what I did. I read for the week. Cons are sometimes you read a bit too ahead, like especially your first month of school, the classes move super slow. You're gonna be way behind schedule. So sometimes I would read for the week, but I was really reading for the 2 weeks or a week and a half because we were just moving that slow. So sometimes I would have to go back and review, but that wasn't really a con for me. But some people, they don't like that. They like to be like on task with everything. So it just depends how you are. But I know people who didn't read for the week, they still did well. They just had to read every night, but I could not do that. Like, you're just gonna be so tired after class. I just didn't have the energy to read after all that. Like, I could only read like in the mornings on the weekends, or like on Friday when we ended kind of early. Next, we're gonna talk about outlining. So I am a big supporter of outlines. I started outlining around week 3. Basically, after you start outlining, I would say to just pick a day during the week for each class, or one day for all your classes, where you're just gonna, you know, be disciplined and tell yourself, okay, this is the day that I'm gonna update my outlines. For me, that day was typically a Friday, because that's when you've learned everything that week, and you can just go back in your notes and plug that into your outline. Like, okay, this week in torts we learned about battery and assault, so I would like, okay, plug that into my outline, put my little rule in there, blah 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 blah, boom, that's it. And so if you update it weekly, I feel like it's not that intimidating, but it can be tiring. Like, sometimes you just don't feel like updating it, or sometimes you're in a class where you don't necessarily learn a topic a week. It might take you longer than a week, so just kind of navigate that. But I would say, like, every time you learn at least one topic, just plug it into your outline. Keeping your outline up to date is just gonna save you so much hassle in the end. If you put something in and it ends up changing, or you end up getting a more succinct version, you can always go back and change it. But having like a running Google Doc of all your notes, it will save you time in the end when you're studying for finals. Like, trust me, trust me, trust me, trust me. And then try to use someone else's outline as a basis. You know, you don't wanna reinvent the wheel too much. Make sure you're using a reliable outline though. Like, don't just use an outline that, if everyone has an outline, like, no offense, but it's probably not gonna be that useful. Like, you're trying to be above the curve here, so try to find whoever did well in the class, you know, someone who got like a 90 or above, and use their outline. And if you can't get theirs, like it's okay to just start from scratch, but preferably just start with something. Even if you're starting from the outline that everyone has, like start with something and then just edit it from there. I think you should really just be disciplined and like kind of force yourself to do it. Like, okay, every Friday after class, after my last class, I'm just gonna take an hour off and boom, I'm gonna outline from all my classes. Like you can do that, but it's also okay to take like a week or two off. Like I definitely did that, and I would just kind of have to go double time, go hard on the weeks where I had to play catch up. But you know yourself. This was also just my strategy. Like not everyone did it like me. Some people can just cram at the end, and I can do that too for some classes, but 1L fall, I was not taking that chance. So I was really on top of things, and I recommend you all do the same, because learning the law is hard. Like it's not always something you can cram, okay? It's just hard. The next thing that I did to study for 1L year was mastery, and mastery is literally studying. Like it's just another way to say studying, I think. But with mastery, you're kind of using supplements, which are additional textbooks that may like break the law down a bit, like more in more casual English, or they have practice questions in there. They have practice multiple choice questions, like old tests that you can use, just like examples, like small hypothetical questions that you can use just to kind of keep your brain thinking. And those are really good just because you don't want to forget stuff. So law school can start to move pretty fast after week 3 to 5. Like I feel like after, you know, the first month or so, it's like, whew, we're in a routine now. We have this memo due. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Mastery is just something that we would do just because it's like, you know, week 1 of torts, you think you really know what something is, and then after a few weeks you're like, oh my god, I forgot that rule, you know? So just to kind of keep you on your toes, keep your brain thinking. Don't think about it too much. It's really just a brain exercise for me, at least that's what it was. And I did mastery with one other person. I'm not a big fan of study groups, but I knew for some of this stuff I would not be able to do it alone. I needed some person to talk it out with. So I chose one study partner, me and Kiera. We literally are still study partners to this day. Like that is my girl, okay? We have similar work ethic, similar plans and attack strategies of how we want to handle classes, so it worked out great. So we would just kind of meet up, I would say like 1 to 2 times a week, and we would study for like 1 to max 3 hours, and we would take breaks, don't get me wrong. Yeah, and we would kind of just talk over things. The first few times you do it, it's going to be kind of awkward, probably because you don't even know enough to study, but it's okay to get in the groove of things, even if you're just like, okay, let's just talk about what we did in class like this week, and even that helps. So I would do that. I wouldn't only rely on that though. That's just one of the study things I did. You still want to make sure you're checking in with the professor, because at the end of the day, a fellow 1L, like y'all both don't know nothing. Like they're not that helpful. They probably can help pick your brain a bit or remember something you forgot, but if you're really unsure about something, get confirmation from a professor. just do that. Apart from mastery, I also did practice tests. If you're lucky enough, you'll be in a class where the professor has practice tests or old exams that they've given in the past that you can use. Professors are probably not going to reinvent the wheel that much either, so you can use tests to kind of have more of an idea of what the actual final is going to be like, or you can use Quimby or other resources to try to find old tests, because that's just helpful. I know when you're just like super nervous, like you just need something to go off of, it's probably not going to be identical to what your professor can do, but it's still just a way to get your brain thinking. I didn't really start practice tests right away, and I think that was for my benefit. Like I don't recommend starting practice tests immediately, like looking at a test too early, because it's just going to stress yourself out and you're not really going to know too much anyway, or you're going to think you are, but you could just start thinking about it wrong. Like I would say focus on the content. I didn't start looking at practice tests until around, I think, Halloween weekend. That's when I started looking at tests, and that's still kind of been kind of early too. I was just pretty pressed. So even just reading them and issue spotting if it was a fact pattern, that helped me. And then yeah, as I would read them, I would try to write my own answers to them, like bullet points though. I wasn't wasting time writing it. I was always pretty confident in my writing. I did well in legal writing, so I wasn't too worried about that aspect, but I still made sure to check in with professors to say, hey, like, do you like your things written a certain way? You know, ask a 2L, ask a 3L, because they'll tell you too. Like some of these professors, there's little things you can do that will help you out. And you know, if something is their preference to read, you're probably gonna get a better score on the exam, just saying. So just ask around. But yeah, I would ask the professor and TA about questions, like if I read a fact pattern on a practice exam or old exam and there was something I'm like, oh my gosh, like I did not see that, or I did not catch that, or what did you even write about for here? I would just check in with that, those office hours. And that's another reason why it's good to have free time during the week, because you have time to do office hours. You know, you're not like rushing every morning or in between classes and lunch to read. No, you have time to like quickly meet with a professor and ask these things. Okay, and the next thing morning was just plain old studying. And this kind of started, you know, close to the reading period. So basically I tried to have my outline done 1 week before the reading period started. This is one fall semester. Like now I'm not that pressed, but when I fall, I was very pressed. I was working myself like a freaking robot. So I had my outline pretty much done or up to date, as in I was waiting for additional information, or I already had the information we were about to learn from an older outline and I just had to kind of plug and chug. Had that done, and then I would just literally study. I would read over my outline, start from the beginning, do maybe like 1 to 2 topics a day, like read over them, memorize them, say it out loud. I would write rules down over and over and over again on my whiteboard until I had it memorized, because I wanted to go into that test ready. Okay, ready. Especially if the test was closed book, I was memorizing like crazy. Like I would have my flashcards and really just writing things down. I think that's really pretty much all I did. I did flashcards like throughout the school year though. I didn't start that like later. When I do my outline weekly day, I would also use that time to write flashcards. And in the mornings I would wake up and like do my torts flashcards like before the day even started, like read them to myself or whatever. Because again, I had time during the week because all my reading was basically done. So even if the test was closed book, it was open book, I was still memorizing things like crazy, just because you don't want to rely too much on your outline because of the time constraints, and you know, you need to be able to issue spots. So knowing the rules really well will help you in the long run. Yeah, y'all, that's pretty much my spiel with how I studied. Let me know what you think you will do when you're in law school. Yeah, I will say that as school has progressed, I'm really not that pressed to be reading and studying like I'm working this hard, quite frankly, because the reality is sometimes you can do all this stuff and still end up with a B. And you know, not to say a B is a bad grade, but you know, when you're thinking you're going above and beyond, you want the A. So it's nice to get it, but sometimes you just don't get that A because, you know, everyone could be doing all this. You know, you just don't know in law school, and just trying to think about what everyone else is doing. I'm just saying, like, this just helped me. The purpose of this is kind of just give you more of an idea of what people are doing, because I just know I went into law school not even sure if what I was doing was gonna work or like how other people studied. So this is just one way. There's several other ways to do it. I know people who did study groups, people who did nothing with the group, only studied alone. So, you know, comment down below what type of study you think you will be. And yeah, I hope this video was helpful, and good luck to you all starting the school year. But yeah, definitely now, I think I was saying, like, as time has progressed, like I'm not that pressed to study. Like 2L year, I was barely even reading. I was just kind of getting by, and I kind of feel like I'm gonna do the same thing. 3L year, I'll probably be a bit more disciplined for my classes that are like bar classes, but even that, for the most part, I feel like I've become a crammer, quite frankly. So, because I'm just over school. But you know, perks of being a 3L, I already got my job, so shoot. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.
Uh-oh, the game in trouble. Started out small, now they paying me double. Yeah, you can drip check, baby, like mustard. Yeah.